Start with Abbeville story.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were going to tell Donna.
Elaine, would you listen to this story?
Oh, yeah.
You know how Ellis always liked to chew tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
So he got in his truck, started Abbeville, and he let the window down so he could spit out the window. And naturally, he had a stain down the door of the truck.
Hello?
So when he got there and got out of the truck,
Hello?
this lady walked by and saw all this tobacco juice down on the door. And she just looked at it,
He's on the way.
and he said,
Uh-huh.
yeah, lady. He said, it's my wife. Said she did that. Said, I've been trying my best to get her to stop chewing.
So there you go.
Were you in here when I told, did you hear the bank story?
No.
Okay, Ellis was always, not always, but a lot of times Ellis was barefooted around the house. You know, he had
I've never
these-
seen him when he
these-
had shoes
These
on.
khaki pants, and the pants might be rolled up to here sometimes. But he decided to go to the bank in Clayton. He got in his truck, got in Clayton, he stepped out of the truck onto the pavement and realized he was barefooted. Well, he wasn't about to go back home, and I know Ellis's attitude, it was, hell, I'm going in there anyway. That was Ellis's word. So he goes in the bank barefooted, and the president of the bank sees him coming in, and he said, well, Mr. Ellis, can I help you? And he said, yeah, I came up here to borrow some money. But that was just Ellis. Things like that didn't bother him. If my memory serves me correctly, the bank president had something to come back at him with, but I can't remember what it was. But he was just always that way. Ellis was the kind of person, if the president walked into his house, he was treated the same way as if his children walked into his house. But he used to say when we'd go there to eat, he'd say, well, you see what there is. If you're mind to eat it up for me and Hetty, go ahead.
I've heard him say that.
It was Hilton that always talked about everybody being on the gravy train, wasn't it? If Hilton thought anybody had made a little bit of money, he'd say, yeah, Tom and Elaine on the gravy train, lapping it up. Hilton just always had something for every
Some expression.
occasion.
Yeah.
Every occasion.
He did.
Regardless.
It's funny.
His favorite name for Cynthia was Cinderella.
I remember that.
Yeah. He always called her Cinderella. And
Yeah.
when I called her to tell her he had died, she said, Mom, I won't have anybody call me Cinderella anymore.
Oh.
It had been very special for her that
Yes.
somebody picked a name to call her like that, you know.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a pet name for you, it means something.
He always called me Julep.
Julep.
Every time he saw
I didn't
me.
know that, Julep.
And I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah, when he went in the hospital that last time and they put those tubes, he'd had an agreement with Mary that she would never let him put those tubes down his throat again. You remember when you and I went in there to see him?
Right.
And he had these tubes down his throat so he couldn't talk, but boy, he was wanting to know, where's Mary? That's what we got from it. And what he wanted to do, he was going to give her heck about letting him put those tubes down his throat. And Larry and I went in to see him, and he was raising sand. Couldn't say anything because of the tubes, but boy, he was wanting to know where was Barry. He died that night.
Tom, I didn't realize Hilton was in that bad of shape.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're at the end.
I guess the end came so quick I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting it.
He would go up to the ranch, and they'd go up there and spend the weekend a lot of times, and especially when I had turnips ready and everything. He loved turnips.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd go up there and just pull tons of them. But he was always under the influence. And you saw the autopsy, didn't you?
No.
Well, I saw a copy of it, and the doctor that did it suggested that they show it to every member of the family.
Why?
Well, he was craving the alcohol, his body was. And they say there is a certain percent of the family that will have that.
I think mine went to chocolate.
Mine.
Could be. But the doctor's point was that every member of the family ought to see that report, because then they could be aware of it, could happen
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah. Well,
They had a name for it, but I don't remember now.
So I guess Papa was born and raised right there in that area too, wasn't he? Now
Yeah, his dad,
where did they live? I don't know
his
that
dad stood by the mill pond down there, you know, where I tell you I used to take the corn and they would grind it and I'd wait for them and haul it back on the mule, and to pay them, you would give them so much of the cornmeal as what they would collect for grinding it. But his dad stood on the bank of that mill pond and cut his own clothes down in the pond.
Does anybody know why? I mean, what had happened to drive him to that point?
do you know, I did not know until Wayne and I were married about that. Papa never spoke of his daddy. I never heard him refer to his dad in any way.
Well,
And I don't know who told me. It may have been Ellis.
You know, Papa spent some time in prison.
Ellis told me that. Well, somebody at school told me that first. Yeah.
What happened,
I just, I never had told you.
During the Depression, see, I mean, money was scarce.
Yeah.
And it was during the Prohibition, and they made moonshine. Well, Papa seems it made the best moonshine, and he got the best customers. So some of the others were jealous, and George Bush reported him.
And Uncle Buddy.
Yeah.
Uncle Bud Gary and Uncle Buddy.
And
George Bush.
yeah, he was
He was a man that lived in our community. No, not that one.
he was our barber. Anyway, when Papa went before the judge, he said, "Mr. Yancey, if you'll tell me you're not guilty, I'll let you go home." Papa said, "I can't do that." So I forget how much time he served, but David and Ellis went to pick him up the day he got out.
But you don't know how long that was?
David told me, but I don't recall.
I don't remember how long it was.
It's not been
Either.
very long.
I don't remember a year, I don't recall. But, you know, he had a big family, and, but he wouldn't lie to the guy, you know, he wouldn't lie to the judge. He said, "I can't tell you I'm not guilty."
Yeah, but see, the thing was, all the people that reported him, they were doing it too.
They were guilty.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
But I believe it was Shelton told me one time that, I think it was Sheldon, that they brought some girls to the house, and Papa had the moonshine stacked up in the chimney some way. It was a hiding place, a hiding place for it, and that the boys built a fire. They didn't know that moonshine was in there, and so Papa, you know, got them aware that the moonshine was there, and somehow they got the girls entertained, and they got all that moonshine out of that chimney and saved it.
The things that have come out tonight, huh?
Well, I just never had told you that, Robert.
Yeah.
But like I say, somebody at school threw it up in my face one time, and it stunned me.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know, I knew
Yes,
nothing
sir.
about it.
Your daddy's been in jail, huh?
And Ellis, because I guess of Bonnie and Redona being close to my age, he was always real good to include me into their family things, you know, like anything from going to church, going to movie, going to ball game, and things like that. Ellis was real good about seeing that I went. And I had been with them somewhere one Friday night, and Papa and Miss Maggie a lot of times would go to visit Ruby on Friday night. And when we got back to the house, Papa and Miss Maggie had not come back. So we were just sitting in the car waiting. And I asked Ellis if it was true, and he told me it was. And, you know, what it was for and everything. I often wondered, you know, if that would show up in the genealogy. But I never had said anything because Robert hadn't ever said anything.
I never heard.
And I just hadn't told it.
Well, I remember during World War II, you know, when everything was rationed, gasoline was rationed, Well, farmers got priority for their tractors. And Papa didn't have a tractor, but David did, and Ellis did, and Hilton, and Mabry. And, no, Hilton didn't at that time. That's right, he was working for David. So. But anyway, Hilton was dating, and to get gas, he would, get David to give him a coupon. Or Ellis and Mabry was easier to get them out of than David. And I remember a gal in my class, Cooper, Betty Jo Cooper.
Meanest girl in school.
Boy, she was just. But anyway, Betty Jo would steal gas coupons from her dad because he had a tractor. And she would steal those and sell them to Hilton. Because he's trying to get gas to go see his girl. You remember we had shoes ration.
Yeah.
You had to have a coupon to get a pair of shoes, and sugar.
Yeah.
You had to get it.
People stood in line for, blocks for going on hose.
Well, we didn't have to worry about that. Nobody at our house had any. We were good, doing good. We had some. Do you remember, who was it that Betty Jo Cooper brought a lawsuit against that they knocked her down the steps? Was it Rufus White or Johnny Horn? Who was it?
I think it was Johnny Horn.
Johnny Horn.
Yeah.
There at school, she was the meanest gal, and she had some of the meanest brothers.
You
But she
remember
was
her at our
around.
family reunion?
She was around your age, wasn't she? Or was-
Yeah, she's in my class.
And honey, they went to court, and of course, so much of the classes, I know Marilyn was one of the ones that had to go to court. It ended up being a 3-ring circus.
Oh, yeah.
It was so funny.
But he give us a day out of school. That's what we like.
When I was in high school, we had the first portable schoolhouse. Back at the back of the high school building, toward the ball field, they had built a little building there, and we had a one homeroom and a science lab. And my teacher's name was Mrs. Porter. Mrs. Porter had about as much on the ball as a old beagle puppy that was too old to do anything. She would sit and read the newspaper in the morning, and on cold days, those boys would stick the fire poker into the heater and get it red hot and sit back there and burn holes through the floor. I mean, we had our own ventilation, summer and winter. But now your daddy, of course, was a basketball star. I mean,
I've seen some.
that's my brother. I was really proud of you.
Oh, yeah.
I never told you, but I really was.
I would guess you
But one
did.
night you got hurt, and it scared me so bad. I wanted to go out there and see about him. It was when the basketball was still played on what we call the auditorium.
Yeah, see, I had that whole time I was in school.
Okay, they didn't have the gym. Well, you got hurt, and I didn't know what to do, because Papa wasn't there. And I saw Hilton threading his way through the crowd. So I said, okay, it's all right, Hilton's going. But I knew you were all right when Hilton came back.
Yeah, it was a night I jumped for the ball, and this old boy jumped a few minutes later, and when I come down,
He was
man,
going up.
it's another way of dying.
Yeah, he could put him in the basket.
See, so you never heard Papa talk about his dad.
Never at all. And
What about his mom?
I never heard him mention either one of them.
I don't think I ever did either. I don't think so. And I don't know why I
It
didn't
just
question
wasn't,
it.
that just wasn't his nature.
Okay, so it wasn't necessarily good or
Right.
bad, it just wasn't.
That just-
So I don't guess, I know we talked about your grandparents on the Creole side, but what about grandparents on the Hartzog side? His grand.
They were dead when
That would be
the
who you're
daddy.
talking about, yeah. What about his grandparents? I know they were already dead.
I never
by
knew.
then.
I don't know anything about them.
I don't know when she died. Now, he died in 1894 or something like that.
I have a picture of
That's Daniel Barr.
Papa's mother.
Really?
I think that's who she is. Who gave me that picture? Oh, I cannot remember to save my life where I got it.
Are you sure?
Aunt Ann, maybe it was Aunt Ann. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
Okay, Cynthia's got it. It was one of those things nobody wanted, and I gave it to Cynthia. It sat in the original frame. It was an oval shape like this, and it came down, and it had a little stand underneath.
I remember that, but I thought that was your mother.
No. And the glass over the front of it was not flat. It kind of came out like this.
Oval.
And Cynthia knocked it and broke it, and we couldn't get the glass put back in there. I wish I could remember who gave me that picture, but it was Papa's mama.
Oh, we darn. I can't even think of what her name is.
Was it Catherine?
I think it was, actually. Yeah, I think it was. I think you're right.
I just wonder if it could have been an ad that gave it to me, because I don't remember being that close to any of Papa's other family.
Ain't many, I always felt right.
She wasn't Papa's family. She was Mama's.
Like I say, I don't know when she died. I know he died. Of course, he was one that fought in the war, Civil War. His grandfather,
Papa's grandfather.
Papa's grandfather. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And fought for almost throughout the entire war. But we've got copies, I'm sure you've got copies where she filed for relief. So I know she lived past him, but I don't know how much longer. But you don't remember anything being said about that?
No, I never heard anything like that.
Probably no.
Yeah, David might. But see, like Aunt Bessie, Papa's sister, let's see, it was her husband that kind of had a feud with Papa. So we didn't see a lot of them. Now, I know Mary Ellen was the age of some of Aunt Bessie's children.
Well, I
and
used
they were
Howard, you know.
Was Howard younger than Margie?
No, Margie was in my age group.
Okay.
Howard was just a hair older.
And then, of course, Uncle Tim. I don't remember Uncle Tim, Papa's brother, ever coming to our house.
No,
Because-
because see, Uncle Papa sold Uncle Tim that land, and he never paid him for it.
And Papa wasn't paid till Uncle Tim died.
And they
And that was when I was in high
just
school.
told him I paid him a token amount.
Oh, I know it. It was
Tim was
awful.
Papa's brother, right?
Yeah, he got killed by a
The
horse.
horse reared up.
Oh, yeah, you
Fell
told me
back
that.
on him.
Yeah, he had there was a mare in the barn, and the stallion didn't want to leave. And Uncle Tim, it was a beautiful horse, tried to force it, and it reared up and fell back on him.
How old was he when that happened?
I don't
Or still
really
a young
know.
man, or-
I don't really know. We were on the school bus coming home, and somebody came in a car and met the bus. His daughters were on the bus, and they told him that Uncle Tim had been hurt. And so they took Jeanette and, was it Louise, off the bus. And it was raining, and the roads were not paved, and the ambulance got in the ditch going to Uncle Tim's house, which was just past our house on down past David's house, past that intersection. And when we got home, we hadn't been home very long, and Papa had started toward the pasture, and somebody came down there and told him Uncle Tim had died. And he turned around and went back to the house, but I never saw him.
What was bad about that, Uncle Tim and his wife lived so much better than Mama did, and yet they owed them for the place, but Papa wouldn't sue.
He wouldn't do anything about it.
foreclose.
Yeah.
But yet he could see them. She could have nicer clothes than Mama because they had the money for it. They didn't have to buy it.
Well, they had everything, Tom.
Yeah.
And the girls wore nice clothes to school. Well, see, Marilyn didn't have that. You guys probably didn't have but a
Were
pair
they
of pants.
farmers as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess most everybody.
yeah.
See, that was the parents of S.T. and Colin and
Okay, yeah.
those.
Uncle Tim's family. Well, they were living on land that they had never paid a dime for.
Yeah.
See, he had never paid Papa one
Papa
penny.
sold it to him, but he wouldn't foreclose, and Uncle Tim didn't make
Yeah.
any effort to pay him.
So Papa wasn't all bad.
Oh, wow.
You know, it was like we were telling things about him that he did, like whipping us and things like that.
Well, he did the best he knew how, and
Oh,
that's
he
the way
did.
he knew to raise kids. He must have done pretty good. He had 19, and only 2 of them smoked. He must have done pretty good.
Well, most were pretty successful in life, too.
Yeah.
When you really think about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I told Mother, he told them or taught them really the only thing he knew, to work hard,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
But Papa taught more than that. Papa taught, one thing I remember Papa always said, all you've got is your name. Keep your name clean. You know, he said that's your name.
Honest.
He said,
If the
well,
guy won't look you in the eye, watch him. You
yeah.
can't trust him either.
Papa believed in being honest, and if he owed you a debt, he paid you every penny of it. Every penny.
You know, I've got an old ledger that he had,
Yeah.
and he's got payments written down. Uncle Hilton had borrowed some money from him, and he'd write down Hilton paid $2.50.
Really?
Yeah.
And
when
it's got-
when he closed his store, he had people that never did pay him.
I'm
Do
sure.
you know, unless they've been lost, there is a pair of scissors at Miss Maggie's house that came out of that store across the road from Papa's house.
Cutting some.
It has
claws.
silk. They were the scissors that were used to only cut silk, and the word silk is scratched on
Dorothy,
them.
is any more of those peanuts in there?
I'm here, Dorothy Ann.
Julie, I'd like to have some.
Why do you quit filming? Don't you want to?
No, yeah, I can eat them on the camera too.
Well, so where was, going back just for a second, 'cause this is, a lot of the places I can never remember driving and showing different people's houses. Where was Papa raised then? Do you
I don't
know
know.
where the house is?
I don't know where Papa was raised.
You were born where Uncle David's house
I was born where David's house was, and Grandpa Creel and Grandma Creel lived down there where Papa's house was.
'Cause,
And then they switched.
yeah, didn't Papa get the property where they ended up living from
Grandpa Creel.
Grandpa Creel?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
And see, that's when Papa got the store too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, David.
Now, Grandpa Creel operated it before Papa.
Okay, yeah, and I knew that. But didn't David say tonight that he ran that store too?
He said Aunt Ada. He said Aunt Ada.
No, that was the one that was up at their house.
Okay.
They had a store up there. I don't know where Papa was raised.
See, I know it's in that area, but
It'd have to be for his daddy to go to that meal.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he was.
But I don't know.
Huh. I'll have to ask Uncle David, he might know.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he would.
What would you call him?
Get him out of bed.
Get him out of bed.
So he bought the property where all of y'all were born from them, so where did they live at that point? Just
Who?
from the Creels?
They went to Eufaula, didn't
I
they?
think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, he had a store in
I've seen
Eufaula.
that in Eufaula, I've seen that.
And see, Ada had a picture there of that house.
But there was a store directly across the street from
Papa's house.
Oh,
his
yeah.
house?
That's
Yeah.
where I was talking about. We kept, after we closed it, then we would store stuff in there.
Now, wasn't
Is that building still there?
Wasn't it there when we were
okay.
children, though?
Oh, yes.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was.
see, Bonnie's
And
house
that,
is there now.
Yeah, Brian's house sits.
there was
I remember that house being over there off the road, an old,
Yeah.
lumber building.
there was a back door facing it. It was on the right-hand side of that building toward the back. And up in there were shelves, and that's where we put all the canned stuff, was around the walls of that. But when Papa decided to tear down the old house, we lived over in that store while the house was being built. Was the new house built in 45? It was right at the time the war ended.
Well,
We were still in that old house, in the store, weren't we?
Yeah.
so we never saw that house.
No, this was a house that had the opening between the middle, wasn't it, Tom?
Yeah.
With rooms on either
Our
side.
shotgun
And
house.
so the barn that we all knew was actually the first house there, wasn't it?
Well, now, the
No.
barn was the house Mama was born
Okay, that's
in.
what I.
Are you kidding?
No,
No, that's what I had heard.
Yeah. That was the house Mama was actually born in, the house that sat there, barn sat there beside.
Well, now the whole barn, now Papa added onto that barn.
You
I think
remember,
the center where the corn crib is what you're talking about.
you know where the horses were fed,
Yeah,
and we would walk down that?
Yeah.
That was the hall in the house.
okay. Because I remember when Papa built that new shelter out on the front
Yeah.
of it, and then
Oh,
he
yeah, that was
extended the
just
side
house
of
the
it.
wagon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the original house, I guess, where,
Well, now that's
Mama
not the
was-
one I'm talking about. I'm talking
right,
about
this was the
another
one that he
house.
probably bought or maybe built.
I don't know
purchased the
who
property,
built
or
it.
maybe it was already there.
It's possible that Grandpa Creel had the house built. But see, when Papa rebuilt, he didn't tear the whole house down. Like when you went the front door, that big room on the left, the floor under there was the same floor. And you know, when Papa died and his casket was in that room, and when all my brothers came in, and a lot of people were in there, somebody, I think it may have been Sheldon, felt that floor kind of shift, and he got the people to come out because he was afraid something might happen in there. But see, that old house, when you went up to the porch, there was a room on this side that opened out onto the front porch. It was on in the same area as the front porch. See, the porch came across and then it went out like this. Well, one room you went into from the porch, the other one you had to go through and come through the bedroom and come through a little door that there was just a curtain hung there was no door. And Mary and I slept in that front little room, which was actually off the front porch, which had to go through the bedroom to get to it.
And every time you went out of a room, you went out, you were actually out in a breezeway, and you're talking about cold in the winter.
And the kitchen was first separated in the back, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was separated out back, and of course, all that got torn down too.
We had a fireplace in the front room on the left as you walked in. And then there was one in the kitchen. And my job was to start the fire. And I never will forget, some coals had rolled out of that fireplace and burned holes in the floor. And I'd get up there in the morning and I'd just sleep in my long handles in the winter. And I'd get up making that fire and that cold wind whipping up through those holes.
See, I inherited that job when you left home.
Well, yeah, there's usually the youngest one got it. And Papa wouldn't remind you to bring the wood or the splinters in. But if you forgot to and it rained during the night,
You were in trouble.
oh, and he wouldn't let you put kerosene on it, but I'd slip it in there and soak it with kerosene.
I never forgot.
Oh, it killed me if it caught me doing it.
I never forgot to bring in the wood and the splinters because, man, it was too cold. 5 o'clock in the morning. Dort!
He wouldn't even get out of bed. He'd
I'd hit the
call you
floor.
to wake you up.
You got into your clothes very fast. I mean, you know, zip, your pants were on, your shirt was on. I had an old coat that had belonged to Mama, and I wore that thing in the wintertime. We called it doing the things. Now it's doing chores. We call it doing the things. I wore that coat. And I like scared Port to death with that coat. Port and Pauline, of course, were the colored people that worked for us for ages. And Port was scared to death of snakes. Man, you could say snake and he'd jump 2 feet off the ground.
He would run a quarter mile without even looking back.
I saw out through the cracks of the crib and out under the shelter. I saw Port coming up the road from his house, coming to our house. I knew he was coming in the corn crib. I got up on a bale of hay. There was 2 sections to the corn crib. In this section, unless we had a real big corn crop, there wouldn't be any corn over there. There'd be hay to feed to the mules. And the corn was over on this section. And I got up there and I had that old coat on. And I laid down on a bale of hay. And Port came and started to step into the crib. And I just raised myself up. Man, you never heard such screaming. And I think I may have hollered snake. I'm not sure, but I scared Ports many times. But when I raised up, he just went to screaming and hollering, and he whirled to try to get out of there, and he fell, and he was just swimming in that hay that was loose. I mean, he was, and it tickled me. That was so mean, but it tickled the life out of me. I laughed until I nearly cried. And when he realized it was me, he wasn't even mad with me. He said, "Lawsy, Miss Dorothy, I thought that was Miss Mary done come back to life." And then he thought he was seeing a ghost.
He and I'd be plowing together, and he knew at the end of the road there was some dewberries. And I'd stop to pick me some, so he would hurry his mule up, get to the end, and throw sand on it. So I wouldn't stop either.
I didn't know Port was that smart.
Oh, yeah. He was so proud of himself.
But you know, Port and Pauline were almost like family.
Oh, they were family.
They really
Well,
were.
something I wanted to ask. This might be a little strange, but no, I mean, you hear all this garbage on TV about them always saying different things, but did you really think anything about them just because they were black?
Yeah,
Did you?
you knew they were different.
Well, I mean, obviously it was
And they
different.
did, no, I mean, there was a line there. There was a line. I never called any of them a nigger,
Yeah.
even though I say that slang word and repeat it. Something Mother said one time in Wayne, and like to jump down my throat because Matt was there, and he said, "You know you're not supposed to say that," like in front of Matt and Catherine. Because, of course, they're taught different, but we did know there was a difference, didn't we, Tom?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
there was a line, but
they were, I didn't think of anything about, I didn't think I was better than they were.
That's what I meant. I mean,
No, I didn't think that
they were
either.
inferior, or did you think that they were, I mean, the picture that people try to paint sometimes today,
Well,
Or
just because
dumb.
you're from the South,
That's the
is that everybody's
Northerners trying to make
bigoted redneck.
okay, now,
And yet I think it seems like all through you see these old families back in the South, and they had nannies or mammies or whatever, and they were working alongside,
Talking
almost
about
like
days we had.
almost like they were
Oh.
brothers and sisters. I mean, and you hear stories about where people
okay,
all spent time together.
Well, see, all the Port's children grew up right along with us.
they were our ages.
Well,
Yeah.
sure.
There was a girl older than me and a girl younger than me.
Now, you talking
Yeah.
about something enjoyable.
Wait a minute. Now, the one that was older
I
was
want
named,
equal time.
hush. The one that was older was named Odell, and the one that was younger was named Easter because she's born on Easter. Now, they were my buddies, and they played with me. And Tom was talking about Mama letting him chew the gum for him. I don't know that I ever got to do that for Mama because I would never given it back. I love chewing gum. And if you got a piece of chewing gum, you kept it forever and a day. When you went to bed, you stuck it on that headboard, and when you got up, you plucked it off, and it was yours for the day. But
You didn't get that much time.
if Odell and Easter had some, I didn't mind chewing theirs.
Right.
Now, see, it was like that. But
Okay,
yet,
that's my point.
there was some kind of a social line there, but I never thought of them being dumb or stupid.
Well, you can say
or
that
not
for
knowing
today.
how to do
I mean,
anything.
1995, that still
Yeah.
exists.
But that was the view they painted of the South, that all the Negroes were that way, and we thought they were that way. I did not ever feel that way.
Well, no, they painted pictures if everybody was racist, and all they wanted to do was hang them.
In fact, they were very smart.
But there was Port and Pauline had a daughter named Melanie. I know her name must have been Melanie, but we call her Melanie. And she was probably about Hilton's age. And she married this black man named L.C. Clayton. He was the nicest guy.
He was the neatest guy I've ever met.
And he could do things. He would fix things for me. He would make things for me. I really love that guy. Because when you're a little child and your mother is dead and people don't show you love and attention, you take it from anybody that will give it to you. And that black man cared about me. And he was someplace down in Henry County, I think. And some kind of a fight got up and this guy shot him, or did he stab him?
Well, LC was in the house. This guy shot through the door
Okay.
and hit LC.
And he died from that gunshot wound.
Hilton took him to the doctor, and he drove 100 and 120 miles an hour. I mean, back then cars didn't go that fast, that easy on those roads. But Hilton drove him to the doctor, and Hilton and I went to see him.
Papa did too.
And yeah, oh yeah, we all
Yeah.
did. But one time I remember we were standing there by his bed, and he was telling Hilton how much he appreciated him, trying to help him get to the doctor quick about his hurt. He died, but they took a lot of his intestine out, hit him in the stomach. But he was a good guy. I don't know
Yeah, he really
I
was.
don't know if the guy was mad at him or was mad at somebody else and just shot into the house.
Okay, well, I had that wrong. I don't know why I thought he was in Henry County. But, yeah, he was a good guy. He was really great. We had some other people that came there to live that were white. JB and Blondell.
That experience. I'd take 4 of them anytime.
But JB and Blondell had a harmonica,
Yeah,
and they let me play it.
they were different.
But he caught a red fox, too, you remember?
Yeah, but Daisy's legs looked like that. I'd never seen a person that's bow-legged. We teased Daisy, she couldn't hem up a hog in a ditch. But Daisy practically raised us all.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess surely she's dead by now. She'd be about 150, I think. But she was old the last time I
was.
saw her, and still looked the same. She didn't have a tooth in her head, and no false teeth, and her little old legs was just as bold as they could be. But she was a cook, and just kind of.
I think she was with Mama probably when all of us were born.
Oh yeah. I mean, starting with David and them and all. But Daisy, she worked for David and them, wasn't all that many years ago.
Yeah, I knew she did. But I remember, I think the last time I saw Daisy, she and Pauline both happened to come over to Papa's house at the same
I
time.
guess it's Paul's probably still living in you.
You know, I don't know if she lives in Ellis's old house. You know, I remember the name of another black man that worked for us. And when Robert mentioned that ledger, I remember seeing his name in that ledger, Doc Grubbs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hilda Bertolli's brother, you remember him?
Which one?
The one that got always getting in fights. What was his name?
Was he older or younger?
I don't remember, but that sucker could get in more fights in one night.
Yeah, there was James and,
No, this was
Where
one that
he-
never was around. He must have been over.
oh,
But he come to town one time, and we were at a box supper,
yeah.
and he got drunk, and he had a belt buckle that he claimed he had won in the Golden Gloves. And it seemed like the bigger the guy was, the more he'd challenge. He'd jerk that belt buckle off and throw it down as a challenge,
I don't
And they
remember
just
that.
beat him silly. And as soon as he'd get up, he was throwing it down in front of somebody else, and they had beat him up. I can't even remember his name now.
I can't think.
But I never was around him that much, but I know that night, I figured somebody's gonna kill him. But Hilton saved his neck 2 or 3 times, but boy, as soon as you turn his back, he was in another one.
Oh, Tom, did you ever hear a story about before Papa met and married Mama, that there was somebody else that he was in love with? I don't know who told me that. I'm thinking Shelton. I don't remember why Papa didn't marry this woman or what.
Yeah,
Somewhere along the line, I was told that. But Sheldon used to come over our house when Wayne and I first moved to Memphis. he'd come over there and he'd get started talking. And he would just sit there and just talk and talk and talk. And just, he could tell the funniest stories. But I think that's where I heard that.
Well, Papa came to our house when you were born. I never will forget, he and I were sitting out on the front porch at 510 Bay Street or something, which is now the middle of Interstate 65.
Is that where it went?
Yeah.
All that grass I helped plant?
Yeah. And we were sitting out there, it was kind of a colonial type, little old colonial house, 2-bedroom.
Pretty house.
And he said, how many young'uns you gonna have? I said, well, Papa, we kind of thinking of 6. He said, well, whatever you gonna have, go on and have them.
I think that was their only advice he ever gave us.
Yeah.
Go on and have them.
When Tom and Elaine moved into that house, it had a large front yard. No grass. They went and bought squares of
Well,
grass.
that was the second house.
Was that the second
That
one?
was on Hillman.
Okay, right. Okay, well, that's what I'm talking about. But
I
this,
bought a yard.
this grass
Whole
was
yard.
cut in strips.
I cut it.
I know. I cut part of it. We would plant one row of strips solid, and then we'd cut chunks, plugs, and we'd plant 2 or 3 rows of plugs.
Stagger the plugs.
Man alive, I never worked so hard in my life. I should have got a little bit out of that house when y'all sold it.
But you know, when I put that house on the market, and I mean, sometime I'd work 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. I had 2 scoops with lights on them, and I'd stick this one up over here and this one up over here and light the row. An old Stryker. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force Reserve. Well, no, he wasn't in the reserve. He was a civil defense coordinator of the Air Force. And he'd come over and help me. And he and Elaine and his wife would bring us lemonade and stuff, and he and I'd work 2 or 3 in the morning.
Didn't want to quit.
So I finally give him enough grass to plant his yard. But boy, and when I put that house on the market, I'd tell people, let me tell you about the grass. And they just stick their nose in the air and walk right on in. I told Elaine, I said, I'll never go through that again.
Well, I remember the day I went out there and worked. We literally worked all day long. It was a Saturday.
Old Stryker asked me one time, you know, and I had this grass stacked out there, and we were planting as fast as we could, but it sloped down towards the street. And Stryker said, what are you going to do if it rains? Because I had all the topsoil placed just right. I said, I'm going to lie down across the yard and try to hold it. Sure enough, one day it started raining, and I was taking this sod, you know, these solid pieces, and putting them down, trying to make the water filter through them. And I looked down, and man, I'm just muddy from head to toe. So I went down and knocked on his back door. And he come to the back door and he just cracked up. He said, you said that's what you was going to do.
So how'd you and Uncle Wayne meet?
Well, when I first graduated from high school, I went to Montgomery and started working for the telephone company. Well, Mary and Ronnie lived in Montgomery at that time. But I had not been there very long, possibly less than a year. And Ronnie decided to go to work for Shelton. Well, there was a bakery in Gadsden at that time. I'm thinking that J.W. and Theta were in Gadsden at that time too. So Mary and Ronnie went up there to go to work. Okay. Ronnie's sister Laura had a sister-in-law that had a girl my age. And so I rented a room from them in one of those great big 2-story houses on Perry Street. I was only about 3 or 4 blocks from the telephone company, so I could walk. Okay. Ronnie's brother Joe was in the Navy. And Wayne and Joe and a guy that married Martha Palmer all went in the Navy together. And so Mary and Ronnie would come back to Montgomery to visit Ms. Woodall. Well, I'd go over there and see Mary and Ronnie. Well, they had been there that Sunday, and this girlfriend and I went over there to see Mary and Ronnie. We visited a while. We were going to go downtown to a movie. It was a Sunday afternoon. And so Joe said, well, I'll take you, Ronnie's brother said, I'll take you back to the movie and drop you off. So he did. Well, we were sitting there watching the movie, and we looked, and Joe was going down through the theater. Look, he was down the other side, and I said, Evelyn, there's Joe Woodall. And so we were kind of far in in the row, and it was like 8 or 10 seats. And so we slid out to the aisle, and when Joe came by, I reached out and grabbed his hand. And so he said, come out here, I got somebody I want you to meet. And so we got up and went out to the lobby, and there stood Wayne. And I really didn't even like him. I didn't like the way he looked. I didn't like anything about him. He had on
You left your engagement in 2 weeks.
a small plaid pair of slacks with the same tight plaid shirt.
No wonder he's always been a snappy dresser.
I thought, ugly. Well, I'm going to tell you this on tape because he would kill me if I told you this. Well, this was on a Sunday night. Well, he called me Monday and asked me if I'd go out with him. And I told him, yeah. So, see, he and Joe paid their way and came on into the theater. And when the movie was over, we went to the Parkmore, which was a drive-in.
Parkmore platter time.
Mm-hmm. And I got a cup of hot chocolate and spilled it in my lap. But the next night I spilled it on him. So anyway, he asked me if I'd go out with him Monday night, and I did. He asked me if I'd go out with him Tuesday night, and I did.
Now,
So-
why if you didn't like it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I
Something
wasn't
to do.
dating anybody at that time.
Hard up, huh?
You just confessed didn't come along.
He was the only thing moving.
It's all coming there.
So on Tuesday night, he's going to be this sailor boy, honey. He had him a gal, and he thought he was going to have him a gal. So we stopped, and he got fresh, and I slapped the snot out of him. And he said, I'll take you home. I said, let's go. So we did. Went home, he walked me up the door, he went back to the car and gone. Well, the next afternoon, he called me and he said, would I consider going out with him again? And I said, if you can act like a gentleman. And so he apologized and said, yeah. I never did have to say to him anymore, but he's the only boy I ever had slapped. That was Wednesday that he called me to ask me to go out with him again. Okay. By this time, I'd kissed him a couple of times.
All right, brother.
Oh.
I've heard more than I want to.
Listen, that was racy. So Thursday, he was going out of town. We went out Thursday night. He was going out of town Friday, going to visit his aunt and uncle. And he asked me if I'd go steady with him. And I said, okay. So he came back Sunday night. When I got off work at 10 o'clock, I was on the second floor. I walked out to the front of the building after I went to my locker upstairs and saw the car sitting out there. So I went out, he was there. And we went to Oak Park, which was like the zoo in those days. And they had some animals caged up there. And we parked in front of the cage that had the monkeys. And we sat there and talked. And he asked me if I'd marry him. And I said yes.
Oh,
And that was
for this long courtship.
Sunday to Sunday. And he went the next day and, well, not this diamond, but he went and bought me my engagement ring, and this was the original wedding band.
Oh, really?
And so 6 weeks from that Sunday, we were married. But see, we were going to get married the 25th of January. I'd already asked Tom and Elaine if I could get married at your house, you remember? Mm-hmm. Wayne came home before Christmas, 1952. He wanted to get married. I mean, that was all that was on his mind. He wanted to get married.
Well, I guess so, if you're going to get slapped from the other way.
That's the only way you do it. This is the only way it's going to work.
He really didn't want to get slapped again.
This is still a funny story.
It is.
he just kept on. He was there like, he had come in like Thursday or Friday, and every day he'd say, let's get married. I mean, he must have started it really on Thursday. And I got off of work. I worked 9 to 1, 6 to 10. I got off at work at 1 o'clock. Wayne had been to the Marriage License Bureau to take out our marriage license without me. There was one thing that stopped him. He didn't know my mother's maiden name. And so he said, what's your mother's maiden name? So he went back and got the marriage license. I never did go. And then we had to go and have a blood test. Well, I knew the preacher where I'd gone to church with Mary and Lonnie. And I called him and asked him if he would marry us. And he said, yeah. Tom and Elaine saw the notice that we'd taken out a marriage license in the newspaper. I really hadn't even thought to call you. I wasn't trying to keep it a secret. I just hadn't thought about it. So he told his mother, Daddy, we were going to go get married. Well, some reason they decided it wasn't fair, since none of my family was going to be there for them to go. So Joe Woodall and Evelyn Hicks all went with us to be married. We were married at 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon. I didn't know this wedding was coming up. I had agreed to work for somebody that Sunday. I had worked 9 to 1, and he picked me up at the telephone company. We got married at 4 o'clock. He carried me back to work at 6 o'clock with Just Married written all over the car. And here he was riding around in this car with Just Married written all over it. By himself. We were headed for the telephone company. We were on Madison Avenue, fixing to turn left. No, we weren't. We had to go one more block turn. This guy pulled up beside us. He leaned over and looked at our car, and he said, "You'll be sorry," and drove off.
Now I know why Dad likes to keep his cars clean.
Goodness.
But when I took him to meet Papa, I took Papa outside to tell him that Wayne and I were engaged. And I asked him what he thought of him. I hadn't, I didn't just rush it into it when we got there. It was like maybe after lunch. And Papa said, well, if he does as good as he looks, he'll be all right. And I never heard Papa say anything bad about Wayne.
Yeah.
Never did. That will be 43 years ago this December. So I didn't get my...
How old were you then?
I was 18 in March, and we were married in December.
And Uncle Wayne was...
He turned 21 in August. Yeah, no. That was 52, he was married 30. He was 22. He was 22 in August.
22 and 18.
Oh.
That's about where we were. I was 21, I believe, and you were 17. 2 days later, you was 18.
See, that was when we were coming back through Clayton, and I saw Hilton. I'm going to tell this anyway, so it'll be on the tape. And Hilton looked at the ring, and he said, "Okay, boy, you've done it. You've given her the ring. You're going to marry her." He said, "There's not any." He said, "There's." Wait a minute, I'm getting confused here. He said, "There's enough of us to cover the doors and windows of any church." Well, see, Wayne wasn't used to crazy people.
I mean, he couldn't get away is what he was telling.
Yeah, he could get. Wayne really did not know what to say or what to do. I mean, a double dish of Hilton, all at once.
Yeah, I remember him telling me that. Boy, ain't no way you can get away.
You've done it, boy.
You were the last one to get married then. I mean, everybody else was already married.
Yeah. Tom and Elaine, let's see. So your mom's only a year older than me. And they were married when you were 18. Right at 18.
2 days before.
And so I was 17 when you all got married. So You all married 51, and then we married at the end of 52. They were known as Tom and Lane. We didn't say Elaine. We called her Lane, Tom and Lane. We cut off all names. That was like David Nader. Kay thought that was one person. That was David's name. It was David Nader.
Yeah, Shaq and Cat.
Yeah.
Shaq and Cat.
Down Camilla.
Camilla.
Jay and
Maid
Peter.
and Maud. Jay and Theater.
Yeah.
Of course, it was always Marilyn. We call Marilyn Ronnie.
I tell you that night, that it rained and he left the top down on.
Oh, man.
He opened the door and the water.
I have never. It's a wonder Marilyn's head didn't explode. She was so mad.
And Hilda was just having a ball. Oh, Ronnie left the lid off. He left the lid off.
But I really did. Ronnie, bless his heart, he went and got newspapers and spread it on the seat. I mean,
He had his handkerchief out, go wipe this. Get a matching handkerchief and ready the seats for her.
but they don't come any better than Ronnie Woodall.
And she talking about us going down there in that convertible. You remember how bad it beat your hair? I mean, your hair would beat your eyes out.
Yeah, ice and water.
And we finally, all four of us, in the front seat of that thing.
I would have liked to have seen that. But you know, when I was growing up and Papa drove to town, Clayton was only 14 miles from our house. But Papa must have coasted along at 5 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah, he-
Because Papa wanted to see everybody's crop on both sides of the road, you know. And it took us forever to get to Clayton. I used to think it must take us an hour to get to Clayton. Well, of course, when Wayne and I went to Clayton for Papa and Miss Maggie to meet him, we left Clayton and we were in Papa's in 15 minutes. And I thought, boy, this guy drove fast. Because, I mean, it was like whiz and we were there. It was so funny because it just always seemed like that it took us a long time. Because on Saturday, Papa usually left for town if we were going to town by 1 o'clock. And you better be ready. You didn't print. Marilyn wasn't the last one ready then. Because if you weren't there, Papa left you. I never got left.
I remember one weekend, Elaine and I and Mary and Ronnie rode the bus down to Papa's. And we were headed back to Montgomery Sunday night. And at Union Springs, you know, they always, you had to, you'd go into the bus station and get a Coke or something. And we were sitting there at a table at the bus station. Across the street was a motel. And Ronnie was sitting there, he said, M.O. for motor. He just dropped. And everything got just as flying, I just cracked up. Oh, baby.
But you know, at one time your dad was dating this girl and you followed, and she worked at the theater, and a lot of times she'd give us free tickets. But I guess that's the only time I ever knew Papa to really tell a lie. But, you know, Papa was tight with money, and of course money was tight with Papa a lot of the times. I must have been 13, 14, and we went into this movie. And 12 and under was a dime. I think for adults it might have been 35 cents by that time. And the guy said to me, or he may have said to Papa, I don't know which way, he said, isn't she more than 12? I said, she's 12. Of course, I'm standing there and I
You
know.
can tell a lie, you were at 12.
I was 12.
Plus one.
But, oh man, I wanted to go through the floor. You know, at that age, you're ashamed of your parents anyway. And him standing there saying, she's 12, and me about 14. Oh, I could have died.
Yeah, Martha would let us in free. She took up tickets, and her brother was assistant manager.
I didn't
And-
remember that.
Yeah, and the bags that they put popcorn in is numbered, so they have to account for every bag. So she'd put popcorn in the candy box top, bring it in. And she knew Hilton loved popcorn. And boy, she'd just keep taking it to him. And that Hilton thought she was the slickest thing yet. And I'd go up there on Saturday to see her. Well, I'd just watch, the movie'd go over and over.
Oh
and
yeah,
over
you
till
didn't
she
have to
got
leave
home.
then.
And she'd keep bringing me popcorn until she got home. Then we'd walk to her house, and then she'd fix some peanut butter and crackers and different things. And her dad he was a barber, but he was an alcoholic.
Right.
And he would come home high as a kite, and bless her heart, he'd just embarrass her to tears. She'd go in the room and cry every time he'd do it.
So how'd you meet Mom?
I was working for A&P there in Montgomery, and one of the girls that worked in the dairy department, she was divorced, and she was a little older, and I got to know her. Well, she introduced me to her sister. Well, her sister was a friend of Mom's. Anyway, I dated her sister 3 or 4 times, I guess. And I had a friend that worked in the produce department that dated Mom. And we'd go on dates together. And then I started dating her cousin. Valeria Mitchell was her name. Now, Valeria was developed beyond her years. And I walked in
And yours too.
and I walked in, I was over at Valeria's house one night, and her cousin, Bobby Mitchell, was that his name? It was Valeria's cousin. Anyway, he was there with his date. Well, we all agreed 2 days later we were going to go swimming at, I forget the name of the place. But so I left my bathing suit at Valeria's house. Well, I walked into A&P the next morning, and a guy named George Sexton worked behind the meat counter. He said, "Hey, Lawrence, I hear you dating my cousin." I said, "Well, I don't know. Who is your cousin?" He said, "Valeria Mitchell." I said, "Oh, yeah, she's really nice. Nice." He said, "Yeah, I guess you know she's only 13 years old." And I said, I didn't even go back from my bathing suit. She's still not. So anyway, I had been on double dates with her, and Jack was the guy in the produce department that had dated her 2 or 3 times, and Jack and I were out, and so Jack called her up to see if she would give him a date, and I forget, it was either on Wednesday night or something. Anyway, she went to church every Wednesday night, so Jack said, "Well, I can't get a date with her." I said, "Well," he says, "all right, if I get a date with her?" He said, "Sure." So I made a date with her. I soon found out if I was going to be with her on Wednesday and Sunday, I had to go to church, so I didn't want to lose my spot. So I started dating her then.
Oh, Elaine.
But her
Such a
mother,
beautiful.
her mother had, I didn't know they made 500-watt bulbs till then. But she had a big screened-in front porch and a swing on it. It was a perfect spot to court. But she had a 500-watt bulb in the middle of that thing, and I tell you, it was like daylight. You'd get a sunburn sitting on it. And you better not turn it off either.
Miss Birch would have been on it like that.
She'd have been like a June bug.
She was.
And the bus stopped right in front of the door.
Yeah.
So we rode the bus everywhere we went. We'd ride the bus to the movies, which everybody did back then.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we'd ride the bus to the movies, ride the bus to the zoo, and everything.
The bus probably wasn't as brightly lit as the front porch
Oh,
was.
nothing was lit like that front porch. Man,
Oh, I'm gonna have to go. I hate to break it up.
You guys been on a roll.
yeah. But then I bought that 51 Chevrolet, brand new, at $1,500. Boy, it was sharp. 2-door, blue.
I remember.
I taught Lane how to drive on that with that thing.
That was that other house you all lived in, the first one you were talking about. It was kind of up on a little hill, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep. And it had, just wasn't very big porch, but it had a little column. And it was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Had a living room and a little dining area and a real tiny kitchen.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the A&P, any can, the label was off. You couldn't sell it. So I would write on the can what it was, and I'd buy it for hardly nothing. You could take a can that's worth 25 cents and buy it for a nickel. So a lot of stuff, salmon and sardines and stuff like that, I'd buy it and take it home. Mom worked for the phone company, and she didn't want me to open them sardines when she was home, but I was off on Monday and she was off on Saturday and Sunday. So the day she wasn't there and I was off on Monday, I'd eat sardines on Monday. Open all the windows, and the doors.
What did she do at the telephone company?
She worked in the office.
I never knew that. Sure did. Because I was a long-distance telephone operator.
Yeah.
That was one job I loved. It was down my alley.
Yeah, I don't think she ever worked as an operator.
After Wayne and I got married and I learned about the military life, when he was away one time, we lived with Wayne's mother and daddy, and Mildred and Jerry lived there too. There were 6 of us. Robert and I lived in the house. And Mother kept Robert so I could work, and I went back to work for the telephone company. And man, people called in trying to reach servicemen, and those operators didn't know who to call, what to do. I could take a call that, man, there wasn't a serviceman in the world I couldn't find. That's like one Sunday. Our church is made kind of funny, but where I sit, it's an aisle ahead of me, right up to where the preacher is. You have to come back so far and you go out and come back, go out, this kind of thing. And Frankie's husband comes to church, and he's real funny. And one day this lady that we knew came along and she said, "Have you all seen Bob?" She said, "I can't find him." And so we were looking like this, and all at once Frankie and I go, so Clayton said, "I'd be dead blame." He said, "You women can find a husband for anybody." So I could find a serviceman for anybody. And as much time as I was spent on those calls, I never got a commendation for a customer. Because I knew if he was on a ship, I knew who to talk to on the ship. If he's on a base, I knew where to call to get the information for him.
But right after I got that Chevrolet, I was keeping books in Selma. Mom was still in high school, so we closed at 1 o'clock back then on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And as soon as we closed, I'd hit the trail back to, I could get to Sibylla near high school in time to pick her up when she come out of school, because only 50 miles away. And I was trying to be in good with her mother, and she loved azaleas and camellias. And I gave her, for one of her birthdays, a big old camellia. Boy, it was a big sucker. Then she said one day, "Boy, I wish I could get some chicken manure. It's the best fertilizing agent in the world." So I went out and bought me a number 2 tin tub. And we had an old man that was retired that shopped there at A&P that had chickens, and I knew it, and I cashed a check for him all the time. So I asked him if I could buy some of the chicken manure. He said, no, but I'll give you all you want. So I went out there Wednesday morning before I went to work and filled that tub in that trunk with this chicken manure.
Oh,
Raw chicken manure. And I locked the car and went to work. I come back out there about 10 after 1, and I believe if I hadn't got out there when I did, it would have blown up. Man, you talking about stinking. That whole car.
you knew better than that.
I let down all the windows and took off to Montgomery. And I got that stuff out there, but boy, I was a hero with Miss Bird. Man, I went with the windows down, seemed like forever, trying to blow that sin out of there. You know, there was a guy in Kentucky that had a car that he ran off of the gas from chicken manure. I mean, literally, he really did. And I understood it after that.
I gotta go. Wayne's gonna be up ready to go in the morning early. What time are y'all gonna leave, Robert?
I don't know. Probably
Where y'all
about
going in the morning?
Home.
Good gracious, you don't have to do a whole lot of prep for that. It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
Well, we'll probably go to Pensacola and stop at the base. Boy, if you didn't get it. You go.
3,
When?
2.
Okay. One thing about Papa, even though he always went to church, he always went to sleep. And on Mother's Day, they were paying a special tribute to mothers. And Papa had dozed off to sleep. Well, the preacher asked for all the mothers and the congregation to stand up. Well, as ladies began to stand up, it woke Papa up, so he stood up. Well, everybody got a big laugh out of this. But the preacher knew Papa real well, so he said, Mr. Yancy, it's okay. He said, I think you've been a mother to your children, too. But when he preached Papa's funeral, I don't know if you remember it, but he said, he said, Mr. Yancy was always at church. He said he might be asleep, but he was always there. But I thought that was pretty cute about him standing up with all the mothers. End of story.
This was at Adams Chapel?
This was at Adams Chapel, yeah. And we did go there because that was the church in the community. And the people that went to church went to that church.
Yeah.
And Ellis's family went. David Nader's family went. Of course, Mabry and them came some to that church. Hilda and Vertley didn't come to that church. They went to a church closer up there. But it was just the natural, normal thing. Most people went to church then, that I remember.
Do you think that they were going there even back when Uncle Hot and Uncle David and all them were pretty young?
Yeah, the church was there then, but see, I don't know that they went because Mama wasn't saved until the year she died, is what Uncle Edmund told me.
Oh, really?
But you know,
Yeah.
I can remember Mama going. And every time I remember Mama being there, she was crying. Every time I remember her being there.
Well, see, I didn't remember whether Mama went. I don't think Papa
yeah.
went that much, did he, or did he?
I don't remember them not going.
Well,
Like
when
say,
I
you
came
can go
along,
once a month if the weather's decent and
Yeah,
road slick, then
yeah.
you try to come.
but when I came along, Papa was going to church. I mean, when I can remember back, and then see when he married Miss Maggie went to church too. And after I learned to drive, if Papa didn't feel good, he would actually let me drive the car with Miss Maggie in the car. And then as I got older, if Miss Maggie didn't want to go, like sometimes on a Sunday night, Papa would actually let me drive the car by myself over there. Now that was a novelty because no one else got to do that. But, just most of the people that lived around there, they just all went to church. Of course now, my cousins, S.T. and Colin went. Did Eugene's family go? This is their brother. They were all brothers.
Remember.
Okay, this was Uncle Tim's
Some of them
children.
come in Newland wagons.
Oh yeah, Ellis and Hetty came in a mule and wagon. When a lot of times on Sunday morning, when there wasn't church, Ellis and Hetty might decide to come to our house and spend the day. Well, you didn't know they were coming until you heard the mule and wagon coming down the road, and you might go out and see who it was. And if it was Ellis and Hetty, they pulled up in the yard. You wrung a chicken's neck. But you know there were no telephones.
But if you remember, we called it going spending the day, or you went early because it was an insult if you went after the food was prepared. The idea was you went and the woman went to the kitchen and helped prepare the food because it was an insult to the people you went to see if you didn't. But they come early and we stayed all day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember when, what was his name? His daughter lives in Columbus, Georgia now. Had the Model T, and Paul and Scott Watson.
Oh yeah, Watson.
Yeah. And we proceeded to take it apart.
Oh, Tom.
Put it back together, and we had parts left over. Nobody noticed it till he got out the next day and was going to back it out the shed, and he couldn't control it. I think that was one of the parts we had left over. We didn't know where it went.
You know, I can remember all these boys that were, some of them were cousins and some of them were just friends, and Tom and Thad and Paul and Scott and Gaston and Britt.
Yeah.
Oh, just dozens of
Harold
guys.
Britt.
Oh,
McCraney.
yeah. But it was Monroe too.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell
Lamar.
about the story about the lamp? You know,
Oh yeah. Well, that was we'd done at Blondie's and Mutch's.
Blondale,
What was that couple?
JB.
JB and Blond. We'd been down there shelling peas, you know. We'd gather around the fire and sell these seed peas. And we'd been down and shelled them, and we'd finished, and we'd getting ready to go home. And I was standing by the door, and this lamp was by the door. It had a glass, you know, shade over it, kind of. And I was looking and studying that lamp. And finally, I decided, well, if I touch it with my dry finger, it's going to burn me. So, nothing happened. Papa beat the tar out of me. I got home. I didn't know he noticed it.
oh no, why would?
But it was, you know, it was a kerosene lamp with those tall,
Chimneys.
yeah. And that sucker, man, it popped from one end to
Told you he was bad. He didn't have anything. I'm sorry.
But one time, Paul and Scott Watson, we had this rabbit tobacco in this brown bag that we was going to smoke. And we decided we was afraid we'd get caught. So in the loft of the barn roof come up like this. Well, the hay was stacked up to where there was maybe 3 feet right in the middle. So we decided we would crawl down to the far end and we would smoke this so nobody would find us. Now, talking about how dumb. And Scott had the matches in his pocket. Well, we never thought about crawling along on that hay, and it struck those matches. We looked around, those Scots smoking like a train. If we'd have caught that darn hay afire, wasn't no way we could have got out of there.
It wouldn't have done any good to get out before it killed you.
It'd been better to burn up.
You've been a faster death.
You've never been whipped by Papa.
What news is going on there? Now Scott done burned all our. It blistered his legs something different.
Oh, goodness. I wish I could stay. I could talk for 2 more hours, but I can't.
Come back tomorrow.
I can't. Oh, listen, Elaine, thank you.
Well,